Hey y'all, welcome back to the Heart of Home. I'm Courtney and I'm super grateful you are here. Listen, today our son is gone. I just dropped him off with my parents for the weekend because we are gonna go on a little snowboarding trip for Valentine's Day. So super excited. But I thought that since it's February 14th, the schedule that I planned where I start all of my seeds is based off of the 1st and the 15th of every month, just because it keeps things easy. But I have some seeds that I want to get in the soil, and I've got a few things that I want to chat with you guys about. Yes, while our son is gone, my husband is still home and he's working from home today. So if you hear him in the background, just ignore it. Okay, so I created this fun little document. I can share it below. I think I can just do a PDF of it and maybe link it below. But it's just a seed starting indoors for Zone 5 where we are here in Eastern Iowa. And it doesn't have, obviously, all the plants on there. That'd be a bit crazy. But it has the seeds that I had in my inventory, the ones that I am planting. And I have some on here that I'm not planting as well, because I figured if any of you guys want this, that you might be planting something that I'm not this year. Today is February 14th, like I said. Our predicted last frost date is anywhere between May 10th to May 20th. So I am basing all of my last frost date information based off of May 15th. Now, if you haven't started seeds indoors before, on most seed packets on the back, it'll give you the time span of when you should start the seed if you're gonna start it preemptively inside. And so on a lot of these seed packets, they say 6 to 8 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks. And that's all based off of your last frost date. So if you don't know what that is, you can just Google the closest city to you or the zip code of where you are, and then just type in last frost date, predicted last frost date. And it should give you an approximate date. And the reason that's important is so you're not just growing tomato plants at the end of December that end up being 4 feet tall before you plant them outside. And while you might think that sounds exciting because you'd get a really big jump start, your plant's just not gonna be healthy. And if you're growing in something like I am, you're not gonna have the space for that. So this is why it's really important to start your seeds within the time frame that the seed packet gives you. So I'm going to show you guys quickly just my little seed starting setup. This needs to change. Honestly, we're getting to the point where a lot of our supplies are getting old, they're getting holes, they're cheap because I just bought them off Amazon when we first got married. It's what we could afford. And they do the job. Based on the scale of what I want to grow as far as food goes and flowers, this just isn't sufficient, and I'm not gonna buy another one that's gonna fall apart in 3 to 4 years. So, and I had my husband rig me up a little light system, because when you start seeds, you do need heat, right? You need moisture and you need light. And the light needs to be available to the seedlings, which means it needs to be anywhere between 1 to 3 inches above the seedling, and not the window, which is 4 or 5, 10 feet away. In that case, your seeds will get leggy, they'll get really long, and they won't be strong. They'll likely break. You won't have the seeds that you poured your time and energy and love into. And so I had him rig me up a system where I could lower the lights and raise the lights. However, my husband is not the gardener, and when he rigged up the system with these wood, they're like 1x4s, I don't know, it's just old trim pieces. The wood goes too far out. So as you can see, one side of my little greenhouse doesn't actually zip up. And that's not really great, but it'll do. It'll do until next season when we can hopefully add into our budget a new seed starting station. So again, I got this off Amazon. Amazon has a ton of different little greenhouse options, and it's been good, y'all. It's been good to me, and it's been put through the ringer. I mean, half of it was under our porch outside, the other half was in the storage unit, all mangled and tangled because we moved so quickly, and here we are, and it's still doing its job. So I just have this little Rubbermaid tub. These are actually what we bought for our worms, so when we expand them again, we'll be using these. But that's so funny. Look at those. I put some old microgreen soil in here and it's growing sprouts. So that's pretty cool. Anywho, I put some organic compost in here as well as some coconut coir. And then I added vermiculite because we don't have a ton from our worm farm right now. I'm just trying to keep them alive, and then I'm going to focus on expanding that this summer. However, I mixed all of this soil into the tub so that I have it readily available for seed starting. All right, so based off of my little chart, we're 10 to 12 weeks out from May 15th, which means it's time to start banana peppers, the grande jalapeno, not other jalapenos yet, artichoke, celery, carrot, and parsnips. Now, the only ones I think I'm gonna start, I think I'm gonna do the grande jalapeno and celery. I've been going back and forth on if I wanna start banana peppers this year or not. We have a ton of cowboy candy, which I also use banana peppers to make that as well instead of just jalapenos. I don't think I need them. I grew a bunch last year. If you guys remember, we had that experiment of what happens if you top a banana pepper plant versus if you let it just grow naturally. I don't think I'm gonna start them. So, grande jalapenos and celery, which I've never actually done before. I have just collected these seed trays from like neighbors and my parents. I would love to do soil blocking because it eliminates the use of plastic in general, but if I can't do that right now, if it's not in the budget, which it's not, I am going to reuse plastic. I definitely don't need all of these trays, but I'm gonna have it set up and ready for the next round of seeds in 2 weeks, which are gonna be strawberries. I'm not doing eggplant this year. I'm over eggplant. I was satiated on eggplant, couldn't find recipes that I liked. Yes, I tried eggplant parmesan, just didn't like it. And so it's one of those foods where I said, I'm not gonna grow it. If I'm gonna create a garden that I enjoy and that our family enjoys when it comes to eating it, I'm gonna plant what I want and not what I feel like I'm being pressured into. So I'm not gonna do banana peppers and I'm not gonna do eggplant. This whole property is an experiment right now because it used to be infested with poison ivy and like Virginia creeper and other very aggressive plants that were very difficult to get rid of. And so we have been amending the soil health. We don't even have grass in half of our front yard because the soil is just so terrible. So we got some different clover and stuff to plant out there this year, but I digress. I also need to be thinking about the flowers and the herbs that I'm gonna grow this year. I really wanna focus on developing a tea garden just for my own use. And so I wanna be intentional about growing things like echinacea and calendula and other very popular edible flowers. Instead of ordering them in from somewhere else, why wouldn't I just grow them in my own yard? If I already have a landscape, why not make it edible, right? I haven't created a document for those yet. Those came in a little later. Right now, I need to find my grande jalapenos and my celery. Man, let me tell you, I had to hunt for those. Here I was thinking I had a good system in place, but I might be questioning that. I'm gonna get these planted, but while I'm planting these, I wanna share, look at this. You see that little cupcake on there? My son must have snuck that on there. That's precious. So many of you know that I have actually been wanting to get into beekeeping. And if you are anywhere within the realm of beekeeping, you know that there has been a lot of colony collapse happening. CCD is what they call it. And this hasn't happened for, I think about 20 years ago. I think they said 2007. I could be wrong on that. I told myself this year that I'm going to start collecting the items necessary to get into beekeeping because it is an expense on the front end. However, with all that said, I said instead of just ordering a nuke this year or a colony of bees, that I would do my best to try to catch a swarm. While that isn't impossible, it's still possible to do, but the likelihood of that happening right now is very slim to none because there are people experiencing an 80 to 90% of their bee colonies, which is insane. That's not normal. Losing a bee colony every winter, especially the larger the scale that you have, is common. You know, it's not uncommon for bee colonies to die off because of varroa mites or because of viruses or other, you know, pests and whatnot. However, it is not normal for commercial beekeepers to go from, you know, 100,000 bees down to 800. It's a problem that the industry is facing right now. And you might be wondering, okay, well, why? You know, what's going on? And there isn't actually an answer. There is a lot of questions. There's a lot of people making assumptions that it's this or it's that, or it's the beekeeper's fault. And the reality is they just don't know. There isn't a lot of funding for research. There is research being done. There are some ideas that it is because of herbicides, it's because of bioengineering, it's because of different viruses being introduced. I mean, it's a lack of nutrients in our plants anymore. There's so many variables that go into it, and it got me thinking, this isn't an ironic timing for me to grow this desire to get into beekeeping. And unfortunately, a lot of people could be very capable bee farmers, so to say. Like you guys know, we live in a suburban lot, less than a quarter acre. We don't have a lot of room to do a lot of things that we would like to, but right now we're trying to do our best to steward what the Lord has given us, knowing the dreams that we do have. We're not just going to wait for it to be handed to us, but we're going to take action and do it now. And so beekeeping is one of those things that I can do. Yes, we have an almost 4-year-old and 2 large dogs, and so the bee hives will have to be kept up on our garage, which is fine because it's a flat roof. But it just, I don't know, it frustrates me that there's very little concern over the fact that every year we are losing 1.2% of our pollinators, which we need to survive, which our country depends on. There are commercial beekeepers who basically lease out their bees to different farms, whether it's blueberry farms, apple farms. If nobody is bringing this concern to the surface on a more federal level, then we're looking at the possibility of bees becoming very low in numbers. Extinct? No, I don't believe that. They're very resilient. They've been around for thousands and thousands of years and gone through all sorts of different tragedies. But what we are running into is we live in a world that wants to replace a lot of things. We want to replace real meat with lab-grown meat. We want to replace organic fruits and vegetables with vegetables that have been sprayed with all sorts of herbicides. And now they're looking at engineering for pollination, which is a thing. It's working, it's happening. Obviously there's pros and cons to that, just like there is in anything. As a society, we can't ignore the fact that what we as humans are creating and see as good, like these things, is having a negative effect on other natural things in our ecosystem. So all this, I mean to say, I have been very eager, very excited for this growing season, knowing that I'm doing my part. I'm trying to be intentional, and I'm grateful that it's actually something that I enjoy, because I do believe that every person would benefit from knowing how to grow a garden. And if you've talked to me in person, you know that my opinion on this is, if things hit the fan, as a wife in my case, can I provide for my family? Have I been depending on a government to feed me that doesn't honor the Lord? Can I safely provide what my family needs when it comes to food, etc.? And it's one of those things where I just felt super convicted, because I knew years ago when COVID hit, actually, I had that realization that, you know, if the grocery store shelves are empty, what do I do? Who do I rely on? And the answer to that was I was relying on the government, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that I was trusting the government to feed my husband, to feed my child, and to feed myself, when I would go to the grocery store and there was nothing on the grocery shelves because people were freaking out over, you know, that. So I just had this deep conviction of, okay, I need to learn to cook from scratch. I need to expand my gardening skills, whether that means I use them or not. I need to know how to do it. And so I just dove headfirst into deep water and I've done all the research, and I have just gotten my hands in the soil like you see here. Even though it comes with a lot of failure, it's made me a great learner. It's made me very resilient, which I've just grown an appreciation for, because I feel like these skills have also just been very applicable in other areas of my life. Looking into my desire for the tea garden this year, I just want to encourage you that if you're seeing this and you're not planning on growing anything, to reconsider that. This is going to be a very tough year for the pollinators, for the bees. Shoot, I did not realize how small these celery seeds were. Gotta make these holes a little less deep. Multitasking with small seeds, not recommended. But the least that we can do as a society is plant a couple flowers that aren't sprayed with glyphosate and other herbicides that are killing, I hesitate to say this, but killing us and are pollinators. And I hope that if you're seeing this and you're one of those people that loves their perfectly manicured lawn, that you might consider spraying it with a bunch of herbicides or just planting one variety of preferred grass seed, but maybe incorporating clover or dandelion or other, flowers or herbs that we view as weeds, which are actually really great for pollinators and other insects that are crucial to our ecosystem. I've just been learning so much, and it's almost overwhelming because I'm a very emotional person, if you don't know this yet. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you know me in person, you know that's a fact. That means I'm also very passionate, and I do not tolerate people doing wrong when they know they're doing wrong. It's frustrating to me, and I feel like the more I learn, the more that I see that is happening on a larger scale. Which is another reminder of you can't just rely on someone like the government to take care of you, because ultimately it's a business, and your family is more than a business. Your family matters. Your family should be your first ministry, should be your first set of people that are important to you. So driving home from dropping my son off with my parents, I have just had this burning desire in me to get bees, right? I know that my yard and our surrounding area could benefit from them. I know that there are tons of flowers in our area. Our community actually has all of our ditches down our main road, which it's not like a steep ditch, but they're covered in black-eyed Susans, echinacea, yarrow. They have a ton of plants. However, they also cut them too soon in the fall, because that's the time that we have to do that, right? And so I get it. Again, it's a business. It's not there for the pollinators necessarily. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But I know that I have a yard that is safe for pollinators. I have a yard that is not sprayed with Roundup. I have a yard that's not sprayed with herbicides. I have a yard that is multi-inclusive when it comes to yard landscape, like grasses and clovers and such. I want to do my part. I want to maybe catch a swarm, hopefully, if they're out there. And I want to grow a garden, and I want to do it well. And I want to steward what I have right here in our little suburban homestead, if you want to call it that. I struggle to call it that, but I know that in stewarding what I have right now, that I'm preparing myself for what God has for us in the future, which and our desires is more property, is a bigger garden, is an area for a community to come and to get their hands in the soil and to learn, for people to come and to be equipped and sent out ready to do the same thing within their own property. So I don't know, I'm doing my part. I felt like I needed to share that with you guys. If you didn't know all of that information about the pollinators, about the colony collapse that's happening right now in our bee industry, the least you can do is plant a few flowers, plant a small garden, quit spraying your lawn with a bunch of herbicides and whatnot. I'm gonna go ahead and label these before I forget what I just planted and get them back into the greenhouse. I thought in the coming weeks that I'd do a couple more of these videos, not necessarily ranting about our government and health and ecosystem and whatnot, but some more videos just to share with you guys what I'm planting, when I'm planting it. So again, right now we're 10 to 12 weeks out from our last frost date here in Zone 5, which is around May 15th. I just planted some celery and some grande jalapenos. This is the time to plant banana peppers, carrots, parsnips, artichoke. And then next week we'll be 8 to 10 weeks out, and we'll talk about what I'm planting then. I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks for hanging out with me today. See ya.